Baddie texting me, had to tell her it's not that deep. It's not that deep. She come with me, she roll with me, her nails on fleek. Nails on fleek. It's not that deep. 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 Your Baddie, keep it cool, please.
Yes, people. Yes, people. Yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Back like we never left. How are you doing, Griggs?
I'm all good, man. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much, mate. We've drafted in the big guns. He's part of the furniture by this point. It's Ben Glander. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Looking forward to be back on the podcast again.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of things to talk about today. Obviously, it's international week. You know, that time of the year when no one really wants it. Everyone just wants to go into the rest of the Premier League season. But in the meantime, we have England and some games to talk about. Now, I think the elephant in the room really is looking at the squad. You know, largely I'm happy with how the squad was, but there were a few players that you could maybe say were fortunate that actually got into the squad. There were noticeable admissions in Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford, but you know, with the inclusion of people like Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw and even Jordan Pickford, there have been some question marks, and that drew some comments from Gareth Southgate basically saying there was no logic in dropping Harry Maguire. I just thought I would ask you guys, what do you think about that?
With it, you understand it, and it's conversations that people have had previously, like before Sterling was performing for England at the Euros in the summer. There was question marks as to why Gareth Southgate selects him to start, and the retort to that is always you're going to pick people you trust. At this point, Harry Maguire's got Gareth Southgate to a World Cup semi-final of England. Nobody expected us to get there, and then a Euros final. Like, he's just not going to drop a player who's in the leadership squad along with some other players. He's not going to drop him with the squad because he knows that he can trust him. He knows that he's going to take him to the World Cup ultimately. So I know that Harry Maguire's form for Manchester United this season has been awful. Gareth Southgate was never going to drop him, and that's the same with Jordan Pickford as well. Jordan Pickford's been brilliant every time he's played for England. Same as Harry Maguire. Pickford has been the hero in penalty shootouts. He played really, really well in the Euros, so he weren't going to drop him either. He's still going to be his number one going forward. Ramsdale's injured anyway at this point, so I feel like with Harry Maguire and with Jordan Pickford, Southgate's going to select them because he ultimately trusts them.
For me, Harry Maguire, he just shouldn't be in the squad, and the reason why I fully get what Kwaku's is saying, because in the lead up, if this was like the international tournament, the World Cup in December, and he hasn't been playing well for Manchester United, and he's still included in the squad, I would be like, yeah, fair enough. Okay, I understand your reasons why you're putting him in the squad, because he could be England's best defender. However, if you're going to drop him, we've got two friendlies. Why can't you just kind of send a message out to Maguire, just be like, you know what, mate, we've got two friendlies. You're not going to be in this squad, but you need to pick up your form.
To be fair, I totally agree with both of you. And to jump on what you were saying, I mean, you look at, you know, he made comments on Kyle Walker. You know, he left him out of this squad and made comments saying, you know, I know what Kyle Walker's capable of, and he'll be in squads further down the year. I can completely understand that. I can't see why he wouldn't have done something similar with Harry Maguire. As much as, you know, I can understand the inclusion of Harry Maguire, you know, he was pivotal. He was in the team of the tournament in the Euros. You know, he picked him when he was injured for us. And when he came into the team, you know, didn't play the first couple of games. We had Tyrone Mings in there, if you guys remember. When Harry Maguire came in, he was a stalwart and was very much rightfully so in that team of the tournament. So from Gareth Southgate's perspective, he has every reason to believe in Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire has always performed in an England side, and also the England line up slightly different to how Manchester United's line up, and almost play to Harry Maguire's strengths in general. But as much as I want to believe that, it really comes down to, you know, you look around the league, you look around Europe even, and you see a lot of players in form. You know, I think the noticeable admission of Fikayo Tomori, ex-Chelsea boy, he's having a great season. He's playing Champions League football with AC Milan. To not even see him in the squad for me, I think it's insulting. You know, when you've got people like Harry Maguire in there, it almost, to me, if I'm Fikayo Tomori, I'm almost sitting there thinking, what have I got to do to get into this England squad? You know, I'm not getting a game at Chelsea. I'll go to Italy. I'll learn another language. I'll start for, you know, like an Italian tradition team. You know, like a team steeped in tradition. What does he have to do to get in the squad? For me, I don't like the favoritism aspect, because I feel like it's very much Gareth Southgate saying, I'm going to always pick this player regardless of form. But what happens if, in the next friendly, Harry Maguire makes a mistake? Like, do you know what I mean? You're never going to see how beneficial Tomori could be to the squad if he's never going to get in, And I'm happy people like Mark Guehi, for example, another ex-Chelsea boy, got in the squad, rightfully so. Crystal Palace are having an absolutely blinding, season. That performance against Everton on the weekend was top level, and Mark Guehi scored in it. So I'm happy to see them. But as much as I agree with both of you, I do sit here as an England fan, and I want to see the best players get picked ultimately. And Gareth Southgate almost had the choice taken away from him. But for example, who knows if, I know Jared Bowen is injured, but who's to say that if Jared Bowen would have even been picked? He's one of the most informed English players out there at the moment. So to me, as a fan of like a non-favoured, traditional big club, I don't like that Harry Maguire is essentially in there regardless of form.
You know what is even more baffling is, like, you look at the profile of centre-back that England have, like Maguire, Stones, Guehi, Ben White. They're not exactly the quickest of players, where a player like Tomori, right, who's a completely sort of different profile defender, someone who can sort of drop off, sweep because of his pace, he's just a crucial asset that England could potentially have. Obviously, England have always had Joe Gomez, who could do a similar thing. However, he's in and out of that. Well, he's not even in and out. He's just out of that Liverpool team. And, he can't force his way back into England's squad. So having a different profile of defender where, England could play a little bit different, because it will enable them to play on the halfway line a little bit more, because, they don't have to worry about a ball getting played over the top and Maguire not being able to turn, So the Tomori admission is even more baffling as well.
I agree. Sorry to interrupt quickly. It's like, and this is where I almost disagree with you, Ben, because England in the last two tournaments have performed exceedingly well, and I don't even think we need to change our style of play. I think the inclusion of Tomori gives you that diversity. It gives you the ability to change up your play, but I don't think we need to go out there and just change our tactical approach. Harry Maguire should be in the squad, in my opinion, because I feel he is that beneficial to the squad. Like Quaker said earlier in the video, he's part of the leadership team. He's tried and tested in an England shirt and has always performed. But I think not having Tomori in there, I just think it's a howler, in my opinion. Sorry, Quakes, go on, mate.
Yeah, I get it. And obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan. I'd love to see Tomori play for England. I'm happy to see Mark Guehi in there. It's just that, like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's Gareth Southgate's job on the line. It's not ours. And so he picks a team that he thinks is best. He picks a team that he thinks is preferential. He's like, he might have his favourites, but he's going to go out there and try and win games. So I have faith in any of the players that he selects, because he's done a fantastic job as an England manager, probably the best England manager of our lifetime. I don't think it's really even close. And so he's not picking players because, he likes them or whatever. He's picking the players that he thinks are going to best help him or best serve him best going into the World Cup in 2022. So I understand the call for Harry Maguire maybe not to start or not to play for England because he's been in poor form for Manchester United. But Raheem Sterling wasn't necessarily in the best of forms last season for Man City, and went on to he was our player of the tournament at the Euros. So I have faith that Gareth Southgate picks the players for the best intentions and the best reasons. And I think Harry Maguire in the back three playing for England will be a valuable and very, very good player for England yet again.
Yeah, you're right, Quaker. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think ultimately we have no reason to doubt Gareth Southgate at this point. There will be people out there that say he's fallen down at the big hurdles, but in my opinion, it's rare that I ever really disagree too much with his squads. I think the call to even I think the problem is there is method to the madness in these suggestions of them not being in there. And I think as long as Harry Maguire, Jordan Pickford, Luke Shaw, they all have these terrible club seasons, if I'm honest, this conversation is never going to stop rolling. To be completely honest, it's 2 against 1, Ben. We both think Harry Maguire should be in that squad. But it is a tough one to take, because it does very much feel like a stonewall approach to the players that are performing well, regardless of form at club level.
But the only reason why I say he should be in the squad is because they're 2 friendlies. Like what I was trying to allude to earlier is that if this happened in November or whatnot, and we got a World Cup, I'd be like, you know what, I totally get what you're saying. I just feel because these are 2 friendlies, right? It's just, we know what Maguire does. Look, for example, he sat Kyle Walker out because he's basically said, I know what Kyle Walker could bring to the table. And he's done that a few times with Kyle Walker. Why couldn't you do that with Maguire, maybe? and then be like, right, I'm going to play Tomori, but I know Maguire's still, integral into our plans, but I'm just going to try maybe Tomori or, bring another centre back in potentially, and Maguire will just drop out because they're friendlies and, give him a little bit of a break. But, you could also say that going away with England, he potentially could come back and he'll be like, there's a bit more buzz about him or whatnot. But I just thought that being they were friendlies, I thought it was just an ideal opportunity, just similar to what he's done with Rashford. Whilst there are, there's more competition, up top, I just felt it was a perfect opportunity to just give him a rest,
Yeah, should have sat all the Man United players out. Really, they're not having the best time at the moment.
Apart from Jadon Sancho, who should have been selected.
No, I agree. I actually agree. I agree. Jadon Sancho, he's really turned his form around in the last 6 weeks or so. So that's an odd one for me. Marcus Rashford not in the squad. You can completely understand it because his form suggests that he shouldn't be in there, and it's probably Gareth Southgate posturing to give him a bit of a break, some time out of the limelight. But in my opinion, there has to be some consistency in your decisions, and to do that to Marcus Rashford, and then who's is he having a better season or a worse season than Harry Maguire? Like realistically, I think there needs to be a little bit of consistency and almost a little bit more clarity in the decisions. I don't think any England fan really likes seeing the favoritism, but ultimately, we don't really have any right to judge Gareth Southgate too much going on his track record in the last 2 tournaments. In the meantime, Kwaku, where can they find us?
So you can find us on Instagram at We Talk Football Podcast, on Twitter at WTF Podcast 90. Just type us into Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. I always say it, we're growing gradually. Ben, where can we find you?
Ben_Glander.
There you go. And we're back with more videos very, very soon.
Cheers, guys. Catch you next time.
Baddie texting me, had to tell her it's not that deep. She come with me, she roll with me, her nails on fleek. It's not that deep.